Hi everyone, it's me. So this week I wanted to talk about the differences between British homes and Canadian homes. But first, this is so embarrassing. I am doing a live stream Q&A this week, live on YouTube. I am terrified, but I'm going to put all the details at the end of this video, so I'm hoping to entice you to watch the whole video. If you don't want to do that, just go ahead and skip to the end and you'll find some details about this week's live Q&A stream. So this week I do want to talk about the differences between British homes and Canadian homes. For people who don't know me, my name is Alanna and I am from Ontario, Canada, but I've been living in Kent, England for the last 3 years or so. So all of these generalizations, and they are generalizations, are just from my own experiences. If you're new to this channel, you gotta get used to that. I actually did a video like this way long ago. It might have been the second video I ever posted, and I had to take it down because I didn't do it properly. So if you remember that very first video, I'm probably going to talk about similar things. I don't really remember what was in that video because I don't even have it anymore. But if you've been with me for that long and you remember that video, wow. Wow. So without further ado, let's go. So the biggest thing that comes to mind in differences between Canadian homes and English homes on the whole is that English homes are a lot smaller. That's not me shaming the UK, your homes are so small. No, as we all know, Canada is huge. Canada is huge. Even though a large portion of Canada is essentially inhabitable, people just cannot live there, we still are so much bigger. We have way more space to build homes. Homes can be a lot larger, and we have way less people. So homes in Canada, for the most part, are wildly larger than homes here in England, in the UK as a whole. So if you are moving to England or the UK for maybe a working holiday, or you're moving to be with your partner, I get a lot of messages from people doing something similar. Just keep in mind that the housing situation you might have been used to in Canada is not the same here in England and in the UK. I'm just gonna say England, not both, but I kind of mean both. It was one of those things for me, at least when I moved, that was definitely a culture shock. Even the homes that I've lived in, I lived in a student home when I was in college. It was a semi-detached, it was kind of gross. And it was so much bigger than a lot of the homes I've lived here in England, which is kind of crazy. I also moved away from, when I graduated college, I moved away and I lived in another town by myself. And I was living in a terraced house, but we call them townhouses. And even that home, I was 20, I was living there, and it is larger than 2 of the homes I've lived in England. So it's not a... I'm not casting shade or whatever the kids say. I'm not throwing shade on anything. I'm just saying you need to understand, if you are Canadian or North American, that the homes here in England are a lot smaller. Just the way it is. Another thing that's different about homes in England versus homes in Canada is typically, homes in Canada will have a laundry room or a utility room or some sort of mud room, essentially. And it is a designated room, usually a full-size room in a house. I mean, not huge, obviously, not a bedroom size, but a good-sized room that will have your washing machine, your dryer, maybe some space to hang up some clothes, maybe a utility sink, a bunch of storage where you put all your bits and pieces. So in all the homes that I've lived in the college home and the home I lived in alone when I was about 20, all of these homes had a laundry room. There is some privilege with that, absolutely. Not every home has that, and I have been privileged to be able to live in homes with laundry rooms. And I know this is so dumb, I don't know why we're talking about it, but it's not really a thing here in England. Because the homes are so much smaller and space is such a premium, you're not necessarily going to use up some of your livable space just for a laundry room. It's not really gonna happen. Typically, you're gonna find the washing machine in the kitchen, so it will be under like the counter, probably sort of tucked in, almost like a washing machine. It is a washing machine. I meant to say almost like a dishwasher. It's kind of just like tucked in the kitchen. Now, because of that, I've also noticed not a lot of homes have a separate dryer. A lot of people complain that they are not efficient, and that's why they don't have them here in England, and they're gonna spend money on drying their clothes and etc., etc. Sure, that is probably true. But I've also found in Canada, again, privilege, I had never, ever used a washing line. Ever. Never, ever, ever. Never. So then coming to England and not having a dryer, I was like, okay, we get maybe like a clothes horse, you know, those things where you hang the washing on inside. Okay, you have one of those, but you can't fit everything on that. Like, what do you do? And it's like, no, actually you hang things outside. And that's probably in part just my own upbringing. We never had a clothesline. A lot of people in Canada don't necessarily use clotheslines either. There's only a set time in the year that you could go outside and hang clothes. It's either going to be too wet or too snowy. You know, you just can't put clothes outside in Canada for part of the year. You can't really put clothes out all year in England either. So a lot of people will get some sort of clothes rack, clothes horse thing that they keep somewhere in the house, maybe even in the bathtub. Or I've seen a lot of people hang things on radiators, which is another point we will get to very shortly. Stay with me, please. I promise it will be funny. Another difference between homes in England and Canada is that there are no official regular outlets, power outlets, in the bathroom. Now, we've had a lot of discussion on this because I mentioned it in another video, and everybody got very upset because they say, well, first off, the voltage in England is different than North America. So if you had a regular voltage in the bathroom here in England, you'd kill yourself because it's really high. Okay. In Canada and in America, we don't have that problem. Our voltage is a lot less. So we have regular old outlets in the bathroom and people don't die from them, typically. Now, a lot of homes in England will have a razor socket, so it's like a two-prong socket in the bathroom that you can plug in your like electric razors, or most electric toothbrush thingies can plug into those. However, I have been in homes that don't even have that either, so there's just no power in the bathroom whatsoever. And as a North American, it's kind of a funny concept because when I first moved here and I didn't even have the razor thingy, it's just like, okay, I've grown up, and again, some people see this as a privilege. I think it's a standard of living in North America where you can plug in your hair dryer, your hair straightener, all your electronic shaver thingies, your toothbrush, everything can just get plugged in there. Sometimes if I was doing something in the bathroom for a really long time, like you're dyeing your hair or you're doing something, you charge your phone while you're in there. Like it's just second nature for North Americans to have that option, where in England you don't. If you have a razor plug thingy, the two-prong things, cool, you can use that for some stuff, but just understand that a regular power outlet will not be in your bathroom. And even just calling it a bathroom is gonna make people upset because they're, they get, anyway, we're not gonna talk about the bathroom. Another difference between Canadian and English homes is here in England, there are no screens on the windows. And I know that's a generalization. This whole channel is a generalization, but there are no screens. Now in Canada, wonderful country, we got a lot of bugs. Okay, a lot of things flying around, and I cannot imagine what it would be like to not have a screen on all your windows. It just blows my mind. And yet here, I open my bedroom window, I open the lounge windows, none of them have any screens whatsoever. So please don't fall out. Another thing that's different between our two countries' homes is how we refer to stories or floors. And this gets me confused because I think I've switched what I say now. So in England, correct me if I'm wrong, when you're on the entry floor, you guys call that the ground floor. That floor is on the ground. It is the ground floor. You go up a set of stairs. That is the first floor. It's the first floor off the ground. Then second and third and all the rest of it. Whereas, correct me if I'm wrong, in Canada, the floor, that's the first, like the, I'm trying to say it without saying the words. The floor that is in the entry way, the entry floor, is the first floor. It's the first floor of that house or that apartment or that building. It's the first floor. Then you go up the stairs and that is the second floor. And it's so confusing now because I kind of switch between the two, to be honest. I'll use ground floor and then first floor, but then sometimes when someone says to me like, oh, it's gonna be on the third floor, I have to think, okay, what does that mean again? Another difference between our homes, and just a side note, we are about to have a massive like thunderstorm, rainstorm. It is so dark right now. So if it just starts thundering, please ignore it. Please ignore how dark this video is. Please, please. Another difference between our homes in Canada and in England is that in England, closets can be hard to come by. Again, houses are small, there's less space to deal with. Closets sometimes, in my opinion, are seen almost as a luxury. Where in Canada, I think about my parents' house, and every room in that house has a closet. Every room, all of the bedrooms, the hallway has a closet, the like office area has a closet. The basement, we also have basements in Canada. Almost all houses, like regular houses, have basements. So in the basement, there's a bedroom. That bedroom has a closet. The living room in the basement has a closet. The storage room, like there's just a lot of closets. And of course, if you are moving into an apartment or a condo or that sort of thing, some house that is smaller in Canada, you likely won't have as many as a regular detached home, but it's still quite a lot more than here in England. In my last house in England, I had 2 closets. One under the stairs, so not a full closet because it's sloped and it was really gross in there, and one at the top of the stairs which had the water heater, and you couldn't really put much stuff in there because it wasn't a full formed closet. That's it. That's it, my friends. That's it. So if you are coming from North America to England, it can be a bit of a culture shock because you think like, where am I supposed to put my stuff? You just have to make do, my friend. You just have to make do. So like I mentioned a second ago, a lot of homes in Canada have basements. Full-size homes, again, I'm not talking about apartments or condos. I'm talking about detached homes, semi-detached homes, just tend to have basements. I remember at my parents' house, there was a house down the street, like a pretty nice house. And I remember my mom saying that it didn't have a basement and it would not sell. Nobody would buy it because, well, one of the main reasons, there's no basement. And that's a really big negative in regular size homes in Canada. When I say basement, sometimes people imagine different things, but at my parents' house, the basement is like a fully furnished, separate apartment almost. So my bedroom was in the basement. I used to sleep in the basement. So there's a full-size bedroom in the basement with a closet. There was a full-size living room in the basement with a closet. There was a full-size bathroom in the basement, no closet. There was the laundry room with a whole bunch of storage, another storage room, and another sort of gym storage room. So that was all in the basement. It was all fully furnished. It was all painted and carpeted and all the rest of it. And that's not uncommon for a lot of Canadian homes. Again, part of that is a privilege, but I also think so many people in Canada have basements that are fully functional, fully usable. and of course more space. Now when you come to England and you don't have a basement, it's really not the end of the world. I mean, I don't really miss it. I guess the only thing that I miss is just having that extra space. So when I think about my possessions here in England, they are so much more minimal than the crap that I would just accumulate in Canada because I had all this space to store it, whereas here, that's not the case. So if I have something that I don't want anymore, or realistically I don't use enough, I really have to get rid of it because I have no place to put it, okay? And of course, I should have said this earlier. I'm speaking about homes in Ontario versus Kent. I realize that homes in Kent are very expensive compared to other parts of England. I know if you want to go up north in England, the homes are far more cheaper. Maybe you guys have even larger homes because there's less people up there, but definitely in Kent, it's a very tight population in a small area in old homes that are also small. So that's what I'm talking about. I should have said this earlier. It's too late now. Fantastic. Another thing that is different about homes in Canada and England are driveways. All my homes in Canada have had a driveway. Homes here in England, not so much. Again, it depends where you're living. If you're in a really tight area, there just might not be the space for driveways and you need to park on the road. In some places you don't even have road parking, you have to park a couple blocks away. Again, this might be different up north where there's less people and less congestion. Maybe you guys have a bit more space. But I do find on the whole that a driveway is a luxury, a bit more, maybe not a full luxury, that's not really the word I want, but it's a bit more special than in Canada. I feel like regular homes, just regular old homes in Canada, in towns and villages and stuff, it's expected that you have a driveway. Again, it's different if you're living in Toronto or you're living in a big city like Vancouver or you're living in an apartment or whatever. That's a bit different, but I'm just talking about regular old Canadians living in homes in towns and villages. I feel like some people might find that I'm complaining about homes in England because I'm saying like Canadian homes are bigger and we got driveways and closets and basements and stuff, and that's really not my intent. I'm just speaking from my own experiences. This is the way that I find things to be. You don't have to agree with that, obviously, and people won't. It's YouTube. But one of the things I do find that's very interesting is sometimes homes in Canada can feel very sterile. This is going to be a tangent. Really sorry if that bothers you, but here we go. I went to the optometrist the other day because I needed a new prescription. I bought new glasses. That's a whole separate story. But I was talking with the optometrist guy, Yusuf, if you're watching this, hey, you're great at what you do. And he was saying that he worked and spent a lot of time in North America between Canada and the US, and how was I finding England and comparing it to Canada and stuff, and a lot of people do this with me when they find out where I'm from. But he had actually spent a lot of time in these countries, so he could also relate. And I was trying to explain that Canada does not have the architecture or the history or the personality in its buildings and its structures that England does. That's kind of weird of way of saying that. I don't really know how to say that. And he's like, I absolutely know what you mean. When I went to visit Canada, or I can't remember where he was, and he said it felt sterile because the buildings looked the same and the houses in that particular suburb were all very similar, and it just felt a bit sterile. And I'm like, oh my God, yes. So what you will find in a lot of neighborhoods in Canada that, you know, in the suburbs where a lot of us live, there will be like two different house styles, and they'll alternate when they build this neighborhood. So say every even house is the same house, the same structure, maybe it's painted slightly different, but the layout and the house is the same. And then every odd house is the same. So there's only two styles of houses that alternate, and maybe the decorating is different, the colors and the paint and the landscaping is different, but the layout of the house is the same. Of course, you get this in England, you get this in any country, but I just find that homes and buildings and structures and stores in England have a personality. They're old. Some of them are falling down. Some of them look old, but they have a personality. Where I find in Canada, I think of, going to get groceries from Walmart, and it's just a giant, square, ugly brick building with a big, ugly, flat parking lot. Where's the love? Anywho, that was my tangent. I'm not really sure what my original point was. But I guess what I'm trying to say for North Americans coming to Canada is, no, that's not what I want. North Americans coming to England is, although the homes are small and some of them don't have the things that you want and they don't have the space that you expect, there is so much more personality and character in the places here in England than there is typically in Canada. So while it might not suit you in terms of size and the standard of living that you're used to, maybe, without sounding really snobby, standard of living, the homes have character and they have personality and they have a real sense of themselves. So those are some of the ways in which homes here in England are different to homes in Canada, and of course between Ontario and Kent specifically, and of course between my own experiences. So I'm sure people will tell me that I'm wrong anyway. That's okay. Now what I did want to talk about was my live stream, which I'm terrified and nervous. I was talking with some people on Twitch. I stream on Twitch every Sunday evening, and somebody said, why don't you do a live stream on YouTube? You've never done that before. It might be fun. And I thought, that's a great idea. I'm gonna steal your idea. Thank you. So this Thursday, which I should check, the 25th of July. Let me check that real quick. Yes, so today is Tuesday the 23rd. On Thursday the 25th at 7 p.m. local time here in England, I'm going to be live on YouTube doing a Q&A. So if you have any questions, feel free to bring them or just hang out. You don't have to ask questions. I'm not even sure this is going to work. For anybody who knows me on any other platform, especially Twitch, they know that I am the queen of technical difficulties. So I'm hoping it will work. If it doesn't work, how embarrassing. But I will be live on Thursday at 7 p.m. Feel free to come by and hang out. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, bye!